All right, so last time we were here, we began our look at what's called the distributive law. Remember, the distributive law is a law of multiplication. It's what happens when you have a term times a bracket. Yeah? So, the general form of that, we use that A times B plus D. And it means that, first of all, remember with brackets, where do we look first? Inside the bracket. See if there's anything you can do inside, but obviously B and D are not, what are they called? Like terms. Excellent. So, there's nothing I can do inside. What's the second thing that you almost never see? An exponent. And that means an exponent. Guys? Hey? This? That means an exponent on the bracket itself. And again, it's rare, but you need to be sure you ask yourself those first two questions, because when it does show up, it will surprise you and you won't know what to do, right? So be careful. And finally, the third and final thing you look for is a coefficient. And remember, coefficient is just a fancy word for a multiplier. And in this case, our multiplier is our A. Yes? And so that means to take that A times how many of the things inside? All of them, right? And how many terms do I have inside this bracket? 2. So I would take the A times the B and then take the A times the positive D. Get used to saying those signs, right? Sign errors are the most common algebra mistake. So you're just going to distribute it. So let's just look at one of them. Say we have negative 2y times y minus 3x, for example. First of all, we look inside the brackets. Are y and negative 3x like terms? Nope. Do I have an exponent? No. Do I have a coefficient? Yes. What is my coefficient? Negative 2y. So we need to use all of it when we're multiplying the terms. So we'll take that first times my y. A negative times a positive is a negative. 2 times nothing just stays 2. Y times y is y squared, or y to the second, whichever you prefer. Now I'm done with the first term. We'll move to the second one. So it's times the negative 3x. Negative times a negative is a positive. 2 times 3 is 6. And y times x, make me proud. X, y. Why does the x go first? Always alphabetical order. Good job. Okay. So, look familiar? Did those yesterday. Good. So now what we're going to do today is we're going to take it up a notch. And we're going to look at what happens when you have a bracket as a coefficient. Okay? So in other words, we're going to look at what happens when you have an entire bracket times another bracket. Right? And again, it doesn't matter how many terms there are inside, the process is always the same. Anytime you have two sets of brackets together like that, it always indicates what operation? Multiplication. So what's happening is when you have these two brackets, they follow the rules, but this bracket is the coefficient or multiplier for this one. Okay? So we're still going to look inside to see if there's any like terms you can combine, anything you can do inside. You still look for exponents because you would still do those first if you found any. And then we need to just realize that because these are side by side, they indicate multiplication, that the first bracket is the coefficient or multiplier for the second. Now, there is a special word for this that I hate. And it's supposed to make your life easier, but it really doesn't. So you may have heard it. FOIL? Okay? Who cares? It only works in special cases, and how much do I love shortcuts that only work sometimes? Not. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you that we're going to deal with it step by step in order. And that way you can multiply out any brackets. FOIL only works when you have two terms times two other terms. And the only reason they do it is because later when you see right now we're multiplying these things out, later we're going to take them apart. And when you take them apart, they fall apart in a certain pattern, if it's that special case. But not everything is the special case. So you need a rule that works always. And so that's why we're going to concentrate on it. Okay? So let's talk about steps. to multiply one bracket times another. Okay? First, we're simply, again, remember, you would have already asked yourself, is there anything you can do inside, and are there any exponents, right? That would have come first because you saw brackets. But now, sorry. Nobody told me. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the actual process of multiplying it out, okay? First, you'll take the first term in the first bracket times each term in the second bracket. In other words, we're going to ignore everything else and pretend like that first term is the only multiplier we have. And then do just what we did last time. Okay? You don't have to rewrite it like that. I'm going to show you how we're going to do it in an example here. But you need to think about it like that. So let's just get an example going. This is one of those things where it's sometimes easier to see than write. All right? So say I have, for example, x minus 2 times x plus 4. Keep it nice and easy. Okay? So I have one bracket in front of another bracket, which always indicates what operation? Multiplication. So I have to multiply everything in that first bracket times everything in the second bracket. But I want to stay focused. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to first take the first term in the first bracket. So what is the first term in the first bracket? That plain old x, yes? Okay? And I'm going to multiply it times each of the terms in the second bracket. How many terms are there in this second bracket? 2. Anybody remember what that's called when you have two terms? Binomial. Binomial. Good. There you go. So I'm going to take the x times the x. Then I'm going to take the x times the positive 4. So it's exactly what we did before, except we're just going to use that first term first. So let's do that multiplication. What is x times x going to give me? X squared. Good. What is x times positive 4? And make me proud here. Positive 4x. Good. Positive times a positive is a positive. 4 times x just becomes 4x. Okay? So nothing new here, right? We just have more pieces to use. Second step. Multiply the second term. In the first bracket. I'm going to start abbreviating because I'm running out of room. In the first bracket. Times every term in the second bracket. Sorry, I'm getting messy, but I'm going to run out of room if I don't. All right? Multiply the second term in the first bracket times every term in the second one. So in other words, once I've used the first term times everything, it's gone. We're done with it. We don't need it anymore. Okay? So what is the second term? And again, I've made a bit of a mess up here, but let me rewrite it. That was a minus 2, right? So what is the second term in the first bracket? Negative 2. And again, I'm going to multiply it times every term in the second one. So here I just draw lines on the bottom instead of on the top so I can keep it together. So it's going to be negative 2 times that one, and then negative 2 times that one. Okay? So let's multiply. What's negative 2 times an x going to give me? Excellent. What's negative 2 times a positive 4 going to give me? Oh, be careful. Negative 8, right? Negative times a positive is a negative. Okay? And now there's a final step, third step. It should be down below, of course, in your notes. Make sure you put it in the right spot, but I'm going to run out of room. All right. Third step is to combine any like terms. Now, this doesn't always happen, but it usually happens. And if you'll look right here in the middle, those are both what kind of terms? They're like terms, but they're x terms, right? So they're both x terms, so they're like terms. Good. And if they're like terms, they can be combined. Will x squared change? No, because it's the only thing up there that's an x to the second power. What if I have positive 4 minus 2 x's? What is positive 4 minus 2 going to make? What kind of 2? Positive 2 x's. Thank you. Remember, you must have a sign. And then finally, drop down your negative 8. And here is your completed answer. How many terms is that? 3. What's its special name? Trinomial. Yeah, trinomial. Yeah. Remember, monomial, binomial, trinomial. Okay? So do you see that there's nothing mystical about this? You just take the first term in the first bracket times everything, then the second term times everything, and then combine your like terms if there are any. And again, they aren't guaranteed to be like terms. It depends on what you start with. Okay? Look hard? Now, if you try to learn FOIL, they would try to teach you that the F stands for first, the O stands for outside, the I stands for inner, and the L stands for last. And then you're supposed to think which one's which. Who cares? Right? Just do it in order. Start with the first term, use it up. Then move to the second term, use it up. Yeah? It just makes so much more sense. If you do that, you're automatically doing FOIL. You just don't know it. And you don't care. I guarantee your next, if your next algebra teacher is not me, they're going to use FOIL. But you don't care. You just multiply it out. It's never going to make a difference in your life. Trust me. All right. So all we're going to do is we're going to look at a few examples together. And then just to make sure we're on the same page, I'm going to call on a few of you to help me out. And then we'll do some problems on your own in your book. So let's look at a few. Okay? So that's the expansion that we did last time. Expansion just means get rid of the brackets, right? Okay? Because you see there are all kinds of weird things you can do. Here are some explanations using geometry. Here you go. This is what you get. You don't care. Here's FOIL. You don't care. We're just going to multiply them. So let's do some that look fun because otherwise they're boring. How about Q? We'll look at Q. So we have x minus 4 times 3x plus 2. Okay? So I have brackets. So first I need to look where? Inside. So looking inside the first one, I have x minus 4. Are x and negative 4 like terms? No. Is there an exponent up there? No. Is there a coefficient for it? No. Well, for this one, no, right? There's no number in front, yeah? Now, go to the second one. 3x plus 2, are they like terms? Exponent? Coefficient? Yes. But the coefficient of that bracket is another bracket. So that means we have more than just one term to multiply with. We need to multiply every term together. Yes? So, here we go. What is the first term in the first bracket? X. So I'm going to multiply that x times every term in the second one. So I'm going to multiply x times 3x. I'm going to multiply x times positive 2. So let's multiply. What is x times 3x going to make? Excellent. Because x times 3 is nothing, but x is x squared. Now, what is x times a positive 2? Positive 2x. Thank you so much for that sign. Now I'm done with the x. I'm never going to use it again. It doesn't exist, right? I've multiplied with it. It's something new now. What's the second term in the first bracket? Negative 4. So I'm going to take it times both of these. Yeah? In order. So negative 4 times positive 3x is what? There you go. Negative times a positive is negative. 4 times 3 is 12. Nothing times x just stays x. Good. Now let's do the next one. What's negative 4 times positive 2 make? Negative 8. I'm into negative 8s today. Am I done? Why not? Yes, if you look here, these two middle terms are both x terms. Therefore, they're like terms, so we can combine them. 3x squared won't change. What is positive 2x's minus 12x's going to make?
Negative 10.
Excellent. Remember, you just combine the numbers, right? And the signs are different, so you subtract and keep the sign of the larger. And then just bring down your negative 8. And there's your answer. How easy is your life? Yeah? Okay? This is one of the most, for lack of a better term, I'm trying to think. One of the most common mistakes that students make. For some reason, students find this to be incredibly hard. Right? But I think it's because teachers try to teach you that it's some mystical thing to do. It's not. Start with the first term, multiply it times everything, then the second term. What if I had 3 terms? Do the same thing. You do the first one, then the second one, then the third one. Who cares? Right? All right. Keep it simple. All right. Let's look and see what else they do to us. So all of those are pretty basic. Here we go. Now we have some exponents on our brackets, which we've talked about before, but not when they're this big. So let's look at something like G. So we have no new notes. Notice I'm not going to rewrite any new notes. We're just going to talk about what happens when you have an exponent on a bracket, which we've learned in the past. So let's see how much you remember here. Okay. We have a bracket. How many steps to getting rid of a bracket? 3. Where do you look first? Inside. Inside, I have 2x plus 1. Are 2x and 1 like terms? Nope. Oops. Sorry. Erase my 2. Then, what do I look for next? That almost never happens, but an exponent. But what do you notice this time? There is one. Remember that the base of an exponent is the thing that the exponent is actually touching, right? So what is this exponent touching? The whole bracket, right? It's not touching the things inside, it's touching the bracket. So what we will do is expand that so that we can multiply. So instead of 2x plus 1 squared, I'm going to have 2x plus 1 times what? Another 2x plus 1. This literally means I have 2 of those same factors. Remember, factor is simply a word that means the things multiplied together. And they're identical. And in order to work them out, you just expand them. Now, you're going to notice that there is a pattern. And if you want to learn the pattern, go for it. And that way you don't have to expand it. You can just write down the answer. But you better be well prepared. And if you want to see the pattern, you'll see the pattern. It always happens. But if you don't want to see the pattern, just write down 2 of them and multiply it out. Okay? Here we go. How many terms in the first bracket? How many in the second? So we're going to start with this first term here, 2x, and I'm going to use it twice, right? What is 2x times another 2x? Positive 4x squared. Good. Positive times positive is positive. 2 times 2 is 4. X times x is x squared. What's 2x times positive 1? Positive 2x, right? Because anything times 1 stays the same as it started. I'm done with that first term. Never going to touch it again. Move to the next one. It's positive 1, which is really nice because if you multiply anything by positive 1, you get the same thing you started with, right? So positive 1 times positive 2x is positive 2x. Remember, I want that sign, guys. And positive 1 times positive 1 is positive 1. Like terms? Yep. The 2 terms in the middle are like terms, so 4x squared won't change. What's positive 2x's plus 2 more x's going to make? Positive 4x's, yep. Good job, but I need that sign, right? And there we go. Okay? If you look at this, 4x squared is the same as squaring this, isn't it? 1 is the same as squaring that. And 4x is what would happen if you multiplied this times that and multiplied it by 2. And that's the pattern. Again, if you want to memorize it, go for it. Most people just think it's faster just to multiply it out. And right now, since we're multiplying these out, it might be better for you to just multiply them out. But you'll always get that same pattern. If you want to memorize the pattern, you're more than welcome to. For those of you who need some extension, you want to work on it with the pattern, go for it. But for the rest of us, like me, I'm just going to write it out. There's not going to be a time. There is a time when knowing the pattern will make your life slightly easier, but only occasionally, and it's very rare. Okay? You never have to know the pattern in order to make perfect grades in algebra. Trust me. Okay? So there's what happens when you have a bracket raised to a power. Here we just have more brackets multiplied times each other. I want to look at one of them. Here it is. I want to look at this one. So say we have 3a minus 2 times 3a plus 2. Something a little strange happens with this one, and you'll see what it is. And then we'll look at why. So, anything I can do inside here? No, there's nothing we can do inside. There are no exponents. We'll just skip that part because it's not going to happen to you right now. This bracket is the coefficient for that bracket, so I'm going to take everything in the first one times everything in the second one in order. So what am I going to start with? 3a times 3a. 3a times 3a is? Good job. Then I'm going to take 3a times what? Positive 2, which makes? Positive 6a, right? Okay, you might have said the a, I just can't hear. All right, done with the first term. Let's move on to the second one. Negative 2 times 3a is? Negative 2 times positive 2 is? There we go. What's next? And the two middle terms are indeed like terms. So 9a squared will not change. What's 6a minus 6a going to make? 0. In other words, they subtract away. Because I don't need to write plus 0 and then minus 4 because that doesn't make any sense, right? So you don't have to write the plus 0 because you have other stuff there. So that just subtracts away and you bring down your minus 4. So look at what happened. Before, where we were multiplying 2 terms times 2 terms, our answer was always 3 terms. But this time, our answer was only 2 terms, a binomial. And the reason for that was that we started off with exactly the same terms inside the brackets, but different what? Signs on the second term. And anytime that happens, those 2 middle terms are going to be identical with different signs, so they'll subtract away. Okay? So be prepared that you're not always going to get 3 things in the end. So watch those signs. Now, they lump them all together here for you. All of these are like that right there. But that doesn't mean that they're always going to do that. And there's no mixed one on here. Otherwise, I'd give you the mixed one for homework. Okay. We good? Let's do some work together. So I'm going to write a problem on the board. And I'm going to give you a little time to work it. So use your notes. And then we'll work it together. Then we're going to do the same thing. This is how important this is. We're going to do the same thing, but I'm going to call on you to help me work it. Okay? So everybody work on these so you'll know what's going on. So when I call on you, you don't freak out. Okay? All right. I'll just pick some. Let's see. How about, we'll start off easy. X minus 5 times 3x plus 2. Now, I'm just making these up, so don't look for them anywhere. Oops. Another bracket. Go. You've got 2 minutes. Sorry? You all right? And then the next one, you're on your own. Okay, so here we go, working it together. Now, there's nothing we can do to any of them on the inside. That won't happen to you on this homework, so don't even worry about it. Do you have any exponents? That will happen on the homework, so be ready for it, right? Okay, no exponents. So that means that this first bracket is the coefficient or multiplier for the second bracket. So that means I'm going to take everything in the first bracket times what? Everything in the second one. So what is the first term in the first bracket? An x. So I'm going to take x times 3x, which is going to give me what? Excellent. Nothing times 3 just stays 3. X times x is x to the second, or x squared. Then I'm going to take x times positive 2, which is going to give me what? Positive 2x's. Good. Done with the first term, so you can mark it off. It's gone. It does not exist anymore. Who cares? Next term is what? Negative 5. I'm going to take negative 5 times 3x, which is negative 15x's. Good. Negative times a positive is negative. 5 times 3 is 15. Nothing times x just stays x. And now I'll take negative 5 times positive 2, which is? Excellent. What do you notice about these two terms in the middle? Have you noticed that the like terms are always the two in the middle? It's a pattern and it always holds. So, bring down your 3x squared. What is positive 2x's minus 15x's going to give me? Negative 13x's. There you go. The signs are different, so you subtract and keep the sign of the larger one. And then bring down your negative 10. And there's your answer. Don't forget to bring down your negative 10. Okay? All right. How did that look? Think you're ready to do on your own? And be called on? So let's look at our homework. Our homework is going to start on page... Sorry. Page 143. So it starts on page 143. Huh? Of course we're going to do homework. Exercise. If you don't, whatever you don't get finished now, you have to. All right, now, I'm not going to give you all of them. Just do the third column from each section. Now, from each section. So that means that section. Okay, I have to click it off. Oh, the third column is right there. So C, G, and K. And here the third column there. Okay? So just do the third column from each one. All right? There you go, guys. Have fun.